Why didn't the second sniper team see Crooks and take the shot? And also, why was there no splatter? I don't think a shot came in like they said. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a citizen's investigation of the near-Trump assassination at Butler Fairgrounds there in Butler, Pennsylvania. We're going to continue on with our reporting here, and today we're going to be answering and addressing these two questions. First, why no splatter from Crook's head? It's a really big deal. The crime scene is very interesting to observe, and it leads to more questions than we have answers, and of course, we got to go there and take a look at it. Now, this is the video that, of course, ABC deceptively edited to try and make it look like they had a video of people racing to the roof. What we're going to look at is this, which is the last shot was fired at 6:11:49 p.m. This video image, as I've circled in yellow, was taken at 6:28:11. That is a 16-minute and 22-second gap, a delta. And as you can already see circled in red, by the time these guys are racing across the field, there are already at least 4 people up there, and they've been up there for a while. So we did not get to see the first scenes of the body being found on the roof. Now, when we get up there, ABC team, by the time we got there, we already have Secret Service guy number 1. He's on the phone. We talked about him the other day. Turns out, rust-colored, brick-colored pants guy, also Secret Service, as you can tell from his, the writing on his shirt. Now, this is what's very interesting. We're going to talk about Sniper Team 2. To start with. So this is from the helmet cam. Guy comes up on the roof, okay? And let me get my laser pointer out here so we can follow along together. And this roof line right here, which I will establish for you, this is where Sniper Team 2 is located. You see these little things that look like tents there? It's kind of like, they had a row of white tenty things there, and then there are 2 red barns there. And Sniper Team 2 was on the second barn, what I'm calling Sniper Team 2 at least. And Sniper Team 1, they were on the leftmost barn as you're facing the stage, and they were the ones that everybody was looking at, right? They're like, oh, what are those guys doing? And they're like peering, and they're looking confused, and one of them jumps a little when the shots start. So I think that they are blameless in this, and I'll tell you why. So this is where everything is configured. This is after the overall action had happened. Trump had been shot. Everybody's cleared away. Some things to note here that we're going to be noticing through the next few sets of videos, where this yellow lift is here with these speakers on it. That helps orient us. Remember, one of our sources, one of the most important video audio sources was right here. That was called Source 2. But Sniper Team 2, according to this picture, has a clear shot to where Crooks was, and he was just off of this drain pipe, literally right over this second window, but straight back. So that's where he's found. That's where Crooks' body was right there. And this poor team sitting here, who put them here? Of course, we would have to get Special Agent in Charge Tim Burke as to why he would put a sniper team in a place where they couldn't actually see a roof. Not so good. Bad placement there, Timothy. So let's watch Sniper Team 2 here in action as the shots are about to ring out.
And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and
looks like they're looking at something.
Really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
They're definitely on it at that point in time. And the other thing that we're going to notice about this is that this little white tent here, which we can see in many, many angles and many views, they are higher than this tent peak right here. So they're up on the roof and then up another couple of feet, because what they're doing here is, they're sighting in. So if we stop this right here, we can clearly see that they are at least a couple feet above the roofline. They have a big, heavy tripod-mounted gun here. That thing is locked down, very solid. So you can take a real clean shot that way. So at any rate, there they are. They're above the white roofline on the far right red barn, okay? And so that's this red barn here that's indicated with Sniper Team 2. Now, this all becomes relevant in just a second because, as we're going to see, there's some issues with that. And so when we get here, the first thing we're going to do, let's get a little naming convention. This is the lane in which, if we look at these roof ribs here on this raised metal seam roof, this is the lane that the shooter is found in. It's got the blood trail coming down it. So we're going to call that S shooter's lane. Then there's one to the left. So we'll call that -1, -2, -3, etc. We go out to -4. And here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4. This guy's standing about in lane 4. So it helps a little bit to orient us on the roof so we're, we know we're in the same spot and we know what we're looking at. Now, this is interesting. Here we are, and they've, of course, blurred this whole thing out. Everything in this video that's useful about either the wounds in the head or where the brass is, they've magically blurred all of that out. They've managed to magically blur out all of the actual evidence. And you can see here, it's not like they're just trying to preserve your delicate sensibilities by putting a little blur over his red head. They got that area where all the brass is going to be. They got that just smack out covered. Coincidence? But the shape and size of the blur changes all the time if you watch it. It's very frustrating for people who want to see the actual evidence because whoever blurred this did their level best to make sure they blurred all the evidence. Now, why would you want to do that in an open and transparent investigation? Of course, you wouldn't, but they have. Just an editorial point. Drives me a little nuts. So here we are in the shooter's lane. This guy is standing right about in lane 2, so we're very, very much on axis. First thing we're going to notice is this is the roof right here of this barn. This is where these poor sniper team 1 set would have been. Now we have full confirmation that tree is in the way. So no fault there. Now here you can see these little tenty things, and sniper team 2 is going to be right where that blue arrow points, or right where this little dot is. They clearly have a view here. Okay. So this is an interesting point. I can't find a single angle on here where Sniper Team 2 doesn't have an absolutely clear view of Crooks at this point in time. If they're down, if they're on range and they're looking at it, if somebody is radioed in, hey, we got a guy on the roof, they should be able to see from there very easily because they're higher. So is this guy, and Trump is way down lower in this picture. Trump's stage is going to be, well, what did we see on that prior thing, right? So Trump is here, yeah? And they are way up here. Let's call that at least 10 feet higher, which every foot matters because remember, Crooks, the best he can do is peek up over that ridge line to take a shot at Trump. But by the time he's peeked up over the ridge line, because Trump is 10 feet lower than these guys can totally see him. I mean, just clear as day. That's just simple geometry. There's no way in the world that they can be basically on axis with Trump, right? So Trump is here. They're here. They're at least 10 feet higher, and I'm being generous. It might be more like 12, but they're higher, and so it's impossible for Thomas Crooks to raise up above, just sneak it over the edge, get Trump in his sights, and not be seen or be capable of being seen by Sniper Team 2. And you're like, well, Chris, maybe they weren't looking there, and, it was only like 15.8 seconds after that first shot by the time that, killer Sniper Team, 15 seconds. Dude, what do you want? Quarter of a minute, they managed to take him out. Well, the problem is that we know that there had been suspicious reports, and we know that there had been suspicious reports of this guy all around, so they ought to have been keyed up. And if you're a sniper, there's not that many places you're going to be looking. But then 2 minutes, 33 seconds is forever. When Crooks is actually on the roof, people are yelling about it, they're warning about it. I think 2.5 minutes is plenty of time for somebody to go, is this thing on? Hey, yeah, we got a guy on the roof. You what? You got a guy on the roof? Yeah. Roger? I think that's a long time. So the question is now open. Did Sniper Team 2 actually see him? If so, when? Next question. If they saw him and they didn't take the shot, why not? Did they have orders not to take the shot? Were they told something confusing, like this is a training exercise by somebody else in their ear? We need to know exactly why they didn't take that shot, because they were pointed straight at that area, and they had him. They would have been able to see him clear as day, because, again, they're using these Night 4 7x35 scopes. Beautiful optics, right? I mean, crystal clear. Not like the cheesy. You might think, oh, binoculars, Chris, it's hard to see. That's the Walmart crap you got, right? We're talking quality optics here, and that stuff is crystal clear. It's even sharper than using your own eyeballs. It's amazing how good that glass is. All right, so we've established this, right? So they're definitely higher than Trump. by at least 10 feet, maybe more. And so they had to have been able to see him. And I'm going to go a little further. Given the very, very light slope of this roof, I would be a little bit surprised, because here again, you can see these tents back here. Those snipers would have been about here. There's a chance they would have been able to see down that entire roof line. So I don't know that. I think Benny Johnson took some people out there, and I think they got up on that exact roof. I hope they were on that roof, the second sniper roof, not the first one, or both. Do them both, just to be sure. But it would be good to know if you could actually, as I suspect, pretty much see down this entire roof, so you wouldn't even have to wait for this Jamoke here to poke his head above this little tiny ridge cap. All right? And again, when we're standing right in the spot here, yeah, it's pretty clear that you got a pretty good view of this from there. I mean, really good view of this from there. Okay, so a number of you have asked some questions, and yes, I will take a little time off this weekend, I think, but why am I pushing so hard? Look, my role right now is, first, I'm an emergency documenter. And this is important because things tend to get disappeared into the memory hole, and you go back and you're pretty sure an article said something, but mysteriously it doesn't say that anymore. And the quietly revised things now, gone are the days when it used to be that newspapers and print outlets would issue a correction. And then they would notify you that something had been corrected, and then they tell you what it originally said and what they corrected it to. Now they just quietly update stuff, don't tell you, and unless you've kept a record of it from before, it's gone. Right? Even waybackmachine.org, they've been caught. I no longer trust them because they've been caught having amended Wayback stuff stuffed into their machine, which of course violates the entire thing they're supposed to stand for, which is weird, right? I mean, that'd be like, I don't know, if you had a fire extinguisher that didn't put out foam, but it put out gasoline instead. I mean, kind of against the original purpose of that device, right? And two, I want to make sure that we have a common sense pointer router, because that's what I am. I'm just a guy like common sense, like, oh, Sniper Team 1 couldn't see squat, but Sniper Team 2 could, so we have questions, right? Common sense pointer router here, so that they have to work really hard to make sure that they have to fit their narrative to the data we're bringing, okay? So at some point in the future, if they say, oh, Sniper Team 2 couldn't see him until he raised his head higher, then you can say BS. We've already established that can't be true because Sniper Team 2 is higher than Trump. So they can see more earlier, and anybody trying to peek their head over that AGR Building 6, as it's called, they're going to be fully exposed to Sniper Team 2. So that's established, right? So now they're going to have to fit the narrative to try and account for that fact, which is now out in the public domain, all right? And because otherwise, we have to try and backfit our data around their narrative and disprove their narrative. Once a narrative comes out, man, that's the first thing out there, right? It's kind of like, you know, if you and your brother got in a fight, the first one to mom, you had first mover advantage. You kind of set the tone for the ensuing conversation about what actually happened, right? And the other person has to come and fight through all of your lies if they were lies, right? All right, this is why time is so critical, why we have to actually just push and push hard. So, and as well, we have to fight the propaganda and the data-free narrative assertions. Those are out there. The second thing I do is I categorize all my data into red, yellow, green, or green, yellow, red. So green evidence is stuff we know for sure. Put it on the shelf. Don't have to debate it again. We're pretty darn positive about it. So what am I positive about? Shots were fired. Trump sustained an ear wound. Corey Competore was killed. David Dutch was wounded. So was the other guy. I meant to put him in there too. The audio files all line up across all these different devices, so we can trust that the files haven't been tampered with. Sniper Team 2 shot toward the AGR building. I'll establish that for you in a second. And shots 1 through 3 don't really sound anything like shots 4 through 8 on sources 4 and 5 from my prior presentation. So that's all green. Now we have to work on these items. Well, shot number 9, did that come from the emergency services unit? No. It seems like there's an 11 shot. Maybe we're going to have to work on it. There was an ESU person in Building 2 at the time of the shooting. Was there? I don't really know. We're going to have to establish that. State police say no. Butler County says yes. We don't know. The locations of all the LEO personnel at the time of the shooting, we don't know. I don't know. Where were those 2 Secret Service guys that ended up showing up on the roof? Where were they? Nobody knows. Well, somebody knows. We don't know. and who was giving orders that day and what was said and how do we handle all these conflicting news reports. That's yellow. It's stuff that we have to make sense of and then decide what we're going to do. And if we can get our arms around it, we'll move it into green. And once it's in green, hey, we're pretty confident in it. And now we can go forward with it and begin to work with it. Red material is stuff that I just put, it's later. That's for later, maybe, right? Things like any theories put forth without evidence, like Trump staged this, right? I have a lot of people sending me that still. He staged this, okay? If you have any evidence for that, right? You got an audio recording of him talking about staging this thing, something, right? Otherwise, it's just rank speculation. And of course, that's not data, and it's just a data-free assertion. So we don't work with those. Attempts to ID people in the crowd because they look like somebody you found on an FBI website. I mean, you just can't work with that, right? As well, the idea that we can calculate bullet trajectories based on whether people were flinching or not. You just can't do that. People react how they're going to react. And sometimes people have experience being shot at. They're presumably playing the odds. There are veterans in Trump's crowd. So when they hear a bullet whizzing by, their instincts kick in and man, they duck and something. You can't call that evidence and then say, therefore, we can do all this downstream analysis on it. And as well, I would put shots coming from the water tower in there because we have no evidence for that right now. It's an assertion, it's an idea, but we have no evidence in saying, here's a shot on two separate recording devices, and when we do the crack boom, the data is consistent with the distance that we see from the water tower. So we don't have that. So I have to continue to rule that out until I have some sort of data. And here's the process. We start with the green data. Then we begin our analysis, like what's it telling us? And, we have mysteries in there. We have to figure some things out. Like we figured out that Trump's microphone had some sort of a gain reduction limiter, a gate on it of some kind that caused certain parts of that 5-shot burst to go missing. So we resolved that. We worked with it. That's great. And then we want to capture territory. So we begin that analysis. Then we form our hypotheses, right? And our hypotheses, the null hypothesis in this case is that Crooks was the only shooter. That's the one that the FBI led with the morning after, and they're sticking to it, right? I don't think you can just do that until you have enough evidence to support that. We have hypothesis 1 was that there are 2 shooters. That's the hypothesis I'm currently working on because I have data to support that hypothesis. Hypothesis 1A is that shooter number 1 took shots 1 through 3. And Crooks, no apostrophe, just Crooks, he shot 4 through 8. Hypothesis 1B is the flip of that shooter number 1 shot shots 4 through 8 and Crooks shot 1 through 3. So we don't know. Hypothesis 2, Crooks took no shots whatsoever. Always a possibility. And then we'll take these hypotheses, form them. We have new data. We can reject some of them. They're not right. We can bolster them, iterate. That's the process. That is that's the actual scientific process, not science with a TM like was practiced all during COVID by the COVIDians out there. I'm talking actual science here. And actual science is unbiased. And if the data tells me that one of these hypotheses is wrong, then it's wrong. That's the end of the story. Move on and you keep working through the data. Now, here's the next piece I need to talk about. The kill shot was taken by Sniper Team 2. That's what we were told. Kim Cheadle told us that. FBI is establishing that. It's in the newsprint. But I need to say I'm not sure. I don't think that's the case. So there's something very wrong with it. So, by the way, my PhD from Duke University in medical science is from the Department of Pathology, specialty neurotoxicology. But so, plenty of science in my background. But because of pathology, I've done autopsies, and this is actually a little bit of something that is in my background. Okay. Now, when asked, hey, who killed him? I can't make out what he says, but I can make out what he does. Secret Service guy there in the brick-colored pants points lazily to his left, which is over where the sniper teams would be.
You know who hit him?
Just over there somewhere. Yeah. So maybe, okay, we don't know. But he's sort of saying, yeah, maybe that. We can establish beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is the shot, that the last shot in the whole thing that came out at 15.8 seconds after the beginning. This is a big, hot, and heavy round, and you can see it dampened Trump's mic down really hard right here afterwards. This is what it looks like on a beautiful waveform, sort of an output here. And this thing is really hot and really heavy compared. These are all the earlier rounds. This is shots 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can see the size of these shots. They're just thinner, and they're not like all muscular. And also look at how heavy this thing is up on these upper frequencies up here. And it's really light on these lower frequencies, very different from these rounds down here, which are almost the exact opposite. So this allows us to make a second hypothesis then, and I'm willing to call this, actually, I'm going to move this into green. This is what a 300 Win Mag, this is what approximately a 3,000 foot per second 30 caliber round looks like coming over Trump's mic. These don't look like that. So I'm going to guess these aren't. I'm not going to guess, I'm going to state these aren't 30 caliber rounds. These are all consistent then with something smaller, a much smaller, much lighter round, like what you would find coming out of a 223. This bullet coming out of this is a beast, right? It's at least roughly 3.5, let's call it 3 times heavier for sure. It's at least 3 times, roughly 3 times heavier. Let's call it 3. It's 3 times bigger, and it's fatter, and it's traveling faster, and that's why you get a hot and heavy round. That's why it's such a muscular sort of a signature on there, all bright and white and yellow in there. And these are just little smaller. So we didn't have any inbound 30 caliber rounds, is what I would conclude from this. But again, if any data counteracts that, we'll move that back out of green, back into yellow until we resolve it. But for now, I've moved the idea that the rounds that were fired were all those 8 rounds we see down there. Those are 223 rounds. They're not 30 caliber rounds. So that's good. Captured territory. I like that. Now, this is really awesome. Brandon Herrera does this incredible job. Great channel, by the way. And recreates a lot of things about the Trump shooting. And here he's using something that the snipers would have had. Same optics, same gun. It's an Accuracy International 300 Win Mag. This thing shoots hot and heavy. Before we get to that part of it, here he is sighting down an equivalent red dot on an equivalent, well, probably a much nicer AR-15 platform. But that's what it would have looked like if you were on the roof and you were in Crook's position aiming at Trump's head. This is only 130 yards away. He might have been 140, so it would have been even just a little smaller on that head. And by the way, if you haven't looked down these things, this is just a still picture. If you are holding one of these, unless it's locked in a tripod and you're tipped in and you're not touching it, if you are holding this at all, particularly if you're excited or jacked up or nervous, I'm going to tell you that red dot is like dancing all over the place. That thing is not stable. Even if you're lying down and you have this thing rested on something, that thing is still checking out with the tremors of your body, your heartbeat, your breathing, anything you got going on in there that's creating motion. That dot is like it's just jumping all over the place, right? That's the nature of red dots. They're really kind of humbling in terms of feeling like you got your stuff under control. I don't know. At any rate, so they set it up here with the Accuracy International 300 Win Mag, and then they shot that Win Mag off at a cast head that's got a ballistic gelatin. It's got a harder interior. They even put eyeglasses on it to recreate it because the shooter up there had eyeglasses, and they shot it in 120,000 frame per second, super slow-mo, so we can see actually what happened. This is wicked cool.
See this.
Based on how fucking cool it looked 150 yards away, it's gonna look pretty cool.
Awesome, look at that. Look at that bullet coming out of there. Pierces right out the back, easily, of course. This is 120,000 frames a second. Unbelievable photography.
That looks just like him.
Jesus Christ.
So, here's what's interesting.
Wait.
So, this is what was left over afterwards. That little stalk right there on, let me get my laser pointer out. This little stalk right here is where the head was perched on that. So that's meant to be a replication of a spinal column. And I need you to notice something. Look at all this splatter back here. There's chips. These little white things are chips of the skull. All this red back here, it goes way back here, right? When a 300 Win Mag encounters a human head, it just blows it up. Like this is one of the most energetic bullets you can get out there until you move up into much higher categories like a 50 cal or a 338 Lapua. But 300 Win Mag, oh my goodness, this is a hot and heavy round, and it did the predictable thing here, and it created what we'll call a big old cone, like a 120-degree cone, maybe more, of gore coming out the other side. So that's interesting because I need you to watch what happens here as this is, again, from the ABC helmet cam view. This is something that Charles Grassley released the longer view video of. I'm thankful for that. If we could get the unblurred version, thank you. But watch how this person approaches this scene here. Comes on up, huffs up. That's the backpack of Crooks, apparently. Walks up. You see the bloody gore channel there. He's walking up channel 1. S-1. S-1. And then just walking right up. Like walking up where there should have been a big old trail of gore. Okay? And what's really fascinating about this is we come up onto this thing here. And you can stop this anytime and look at it yourself and get the longer one. But this is pretty interesting. Oh, shoot. I just missed that part. Thank you, Bill Gates, for not allowing me to forward and advance videos when we're in presentation mode. That's so helpful, Mr. Gates. So here, what's interesting is you can see clearly, and there are other views that happen when you get up later, the back of his lily white legs right here, there's no splatter. There's no spatter. There's this whole area right here should be a 120-degree cone of actual blood and gore and brain matter and all of that. And that's just how these things typically work. The idea that he didn't have an exploding head would be consistent. The only way that couldn't happen is you didn't hit him in the head, or somehow he rose up enough and you got a body shot where it went down the body length, and somehow it went down enough of the body length that this way, that the bullet got stuck in there. A 300 Win Mag coming into a human head is a through and through. I mean, that thing's just coming out the other side with a lot of energy. You would not want to be standing beyond even that. Like somebody's head takes a round of a 300 Win Mag, you don't want to be the next thing in line. That could easily kill you as well. So that thing's traveling through and through, and there should be a big, wide amount of gore down here that we would actually be seeing. So I don't see that. And so we just watch this guy just come on up and casually stroll on through what should be a crime scene with plenty of biologic evidence. You wouldn't want to just step in and just stomp all over, and it's just not there. So I think I'm going to have to say that saying that shot 10 in our string came from Secret Service Sniper Team 2 that neutralized the suspect, as we've been told, I'm going to have to move that from red back over to from yellow into red. And I'm moving it into red because it doesn't fit the data at all. I mean, I could wrestle with it a little more. We could start making some wild theories. Maybe they have super special frangible rounds that are designed to just like dump into the head, but they don't go through. Maybe. Until we get something like that, which would then move it back from red into yellow so we can analyze it. But right now, a standard issue, 168 grain, say, hollow point, boat tail round, traveling out of a 300 Win Mag is not going to create what we just saw on that roof. It's going to create, particularly a headshot. Now, we saw Thomas Crook's head lying down. There's what looks like an entrance wound right over his left eyebrow. Okay, if that's true, and that was a 300 Win Mag coming in here, poof, we should be seeing all kinds of gore out the back. I don't see any, and I looked at this video over and over and over again, nothing there. And then, so I'm just going to close this up by saying, listen, we have so many questions remaining, such as, why were there 4 open windows in building number 2 1 minute before shots rang out? Of course, this is the building that Crooks was on, but here we can count them. That's open because you can see the little lip of light on this. This one you can clearly see is open. This one is open. This one is open. Is it protocol to leave windows open randomly in a place where a president's about to speak, a past president, possible future president? Is that Secret Service protocol at all. We can't account for that. But of course, that's the room that we don't know. Were they in there? Were they not in there? Did they abandon their post? Did they not? But this is 1 minute before the shooting. And a lot of open windows. So finally, last thing, if you are familiar with this video right here, I desperately need to find the source video for this. It has some exceptionally important information on it. We really need this video in high def without...
Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that short. That
Slow
short.
him down a little.
If you want to really see something...
If you know who's got this video, or if you have access to the source video, nothing, no processing, no compression, it hasn't been, uploaded to some chat service, Snapchat, or, video thing where it's compressed, the raw video off of this phone is going to be exceptionally important to this investigation. If you know where we can get access to that, please contact us. info@peakprosperity.com. Put evidence, video, all caps. Use 8 exclamation points if you want. If you have access to that, that is right now the most important video we could possibly have for our investigation. That one could settle the entire debate, which hypothesis is correct, once and for all. But we need to get our hands on the actual high quality video. What we've got, we have to squint at, and we can't quite tell, but we're close. So with that, thanks very much for listening. I hope you have a great weekend. And please, if you have any more tips, advice, data, anything, just get them back to us, and we'll do what we can with them. This has been another episode of the Citizens Investigation into Trump's near assassination. Thank you for listening. We'll be back with you next time. Bye for now.